So we'll check the neck first to see how much relief we've got in it. The relief is actually the bow of the neck that way. It's caused by the string tension pulling the neck upwards. To set the frets up and the fingerboard and everything, we need this completely level. We probably give it a little bit of relief when we're finished, just to compensate for changes in temperature and humidity, because if we get the neck completely straight and some temperature change or humidity change alters it and it actually bows back this way, we're going to get all sorts of horrible fret buzzes and stuff. So this neck, it's actually got quite a lot of relief in it at the moment, way too much. It's got like 13 thou of relief there. We'll actually straighten this and get rid of that by adjusting the truss rod. If you don't do this right, you can do a lot of damage to the guitar. So sometimes if you've got one which needs a lot of adjustment or it's very tight, it's a good idea to actually do a bit of it one day and then come back to it the next day and do a little bit more. That's actually quite straight now. If you go too far and bow the neck the other way, the straight edge will rock. So that's pretty straight now. So next thing we do is actually get it set up on the jig. There's a couple of high frets in it somewhere. There's one here. That's right, if you can see that straight edge is rocking across them 3 frets. This middle one is higher than the ones either side of it. What will happen is when you fret this fret behind the high fret and play the string, it can buzz on that high fret, which is why we need them completely level, and that's why that's very important. Also, after leveling the frets and even during playing, they'll flatten out and they'll lose their nice round crown shape. We'll go through every individual fret and actually file them round again, and when we've done that, we will polish them all and make them look really nice. And when they're nicely crowned, you've got a nice precise point to actually fret the string on, which makes it easier to play and sounds better. Okay, I've now actually got the guitar properly set up on the jig. I've actually removed the nut from it as well. So as you can see now, the neck is completely straight, like it hasn't got any relief in it and it doesn't rock, so that is now completely straight. So now we can actually level the frets. So basically now it's time to level the frets. So I've got a completely straight edge there with my sandpaper sort of attached to it, and basically we just slowly and evenly right now the frets are completely level. There's no more high frets anymore. We can actually, they're now flattened off a bit, so now what we need to do is we need to crown them again. Do that with a crowning file. I don't know if you can see, but that's actually the shape. That's actually a curved concave file, and we have to actually go over every single file, every single fret, sorry, and file it round again. When I've crowned the frets, I like to go over and make sure that there isn't a high one, or I haven't gone too far with the filing. There you go, it's got a little bit on that one. That's alright, we just take that down this file I haven't actually masked off any of the fingerboard yet because the files I've been using have got a smooth edge on them, so they don't actually mark the fingerboard. So that's got that one. So go through all of the frets, make sure they're all level. So before, so now basically the frets have all been sort of filed down and they've got file marks in, so now we've basically got to just polish them, which is another tedious job. We've got to mask off every single fret so that we don't get any metal filings or polish or anything in the actual grain of the wood. Okay, once I've gone over the frets with 1200, I'll go over them again with 2000 grit. This actually really sort of polishes them up nice. Okay, so I've made a new nut for it, and I didn't take a video of that, but I took a few photos. I might actually put them into this video, or they might be somewhere else. So now we've got to actually cut these slots to the right depth, so we've got the right action above this first fret here. I'll just stick a business card in there to stop me scratching anything with a file. And yeah, that's really quite high at the moment, so what we do is basically we just file these to the right depth. The other thing we need to do is actually make sure the strings are radius correctly, you know, to the fingerboard. The fingerboard, I think this one's got a 10-inch radius. If I stick my gauge under here, I should be able to measure it. Normally measure them around the 12th fret. It's probably a bit difficult because it's got a bit of inlay on it. But yeah, it's a 10-inch radius, which basically means if you got a set of compasses and set them to 10 inches and drew a circle, that would be the arc of the circle. So we want the strings to follow that. So with the gauge at the 12th fret, we can sort of measure that, and these are pretty much spot on. You can adjust it with the slots in the saddles. I'd file them down the same as what I've filed the nut down, a similar sort of method. With Strats and other sort of electric guitars, you can actually adjust them with an Allen key. I might actually put a bit like that in the video. And we've also, there'll be radius at the end here anyway, because the nut will follow the first fret where we measured it before. To set it up properly, I'm gonna, you know, it's gonna need to be played and to be set up to the personal preference of the customer. And we can still alter the height by actually adjusting the little posts for the bridge here. They can go up and down, so we can adjust it like that as well. The other thing we set up is the intonation of the saddles. If the guitar's been set up properly previously, after we've done the fret level and got the neck nice and straight, it shouldn't really make that much difference. Another thing we set up is the actual pickup height, so we can, you know, adjust the output of the pickups in relation to each other, and also adjust them in relation to the low string and the high string. It's pretty simple really. We go to the bridge pickup and then flick across to the neck pickup, we can hear there's quite a bit more output from the neck pickup. So what we can do is we can actually bring the neck pickup up a bit. That's not bad. To match the bridge pickup. Also, we can adjust it between the high and the low strings. This is all personal preference as well, depending on how the customer would like it to sound. Okay, I'll just show you on a guitar with adjustable saddles how we set the string radius. Basically measure the radius of the fingerboard at the 12th fret. This is a 12-inch radius, this one, and then we see what the strings are like. And this yeah, this G string's a little bit low compared with the rest. They're at a nice radius, but the G string's a little bit low. So all we have to do is just adjust it at the saddle. So we can just use these little Allen keys just to bring it up a bit. There you go, spot on. The same principles apply to setting up an acoustic guitar, like with leveling the frets and straightening the neck. The only difference is you haven't got the adjustment on the saddles. So what we tend to do is like actually remove material from the actual saddle itself. Like to set the string height, we'll take material off the bottom and we'll actually radius it to the radius of the fingerboards by just shaping it.